heavy downpours this Tuesday after torrential showers battered the central region and capital Seoul. We have a reporter standing by at a dam that controls the water levels of the Han River. Has North Korea upgraded its nuclear capabilities yet another notch? A UN report suggests the regime might have developed nuclear devices that fit atop ballistic missiles. A new phase in the friction between Seoul and Tokyo. A South Korean court is set to begin the process of auctioning off the shares of a Japanese firm ordered to compensate Korean forced labor victims during the Second World War. Nippon Steel says it'll appeal immediately. Our starting point this morning, torrential rain has been pounding South Korea's central regions for the past couple of days now, leading to deadly casualties. The Central Disaster and Safety Countermeasures Headquarters has upped its weather alert to the highest level due to the rain, strong winds, and flooding. Still no rain yet in the capital region of Seoul at this hour, but we're going to go live to our Kim Do-yeon standing by near Paldang Dam in Gyeonggi-do province, a water gate for the Han River that loops through the capital of Seoul. Do-yeon, it doesn't seem like it's raining where you are now, but do tell us more.
Yes, I'm at Paldang Dam. There hasn't been any rain here, even with some spots of sunlight. But don't let that fool you because the forecast still expects downpours in the next coming hours. Meanwhile, you can see and even hear the enormous amount of backdoor water being released by the dam. As of 9 a.m., 10 of 15 waterways have been opened for 33 meters to release 7,000 tons of water. And the pace of release has been coming down since we didn't see as much rain overnight as we did the previous night. However, at one point Monday, the dam released about 15,000 tons of water a second. That's the biggest release in 5 years. After that, the release was lowered as the water flowing in from the Bukhan River was not as high as expected.
So, Do-yeon, where does that put roadways in and around capital region that had been blocked off for nearly 2 days now?
Taemin, the Jamsu Bridge is still closed currently as the water level is still well above the safe level. While the amount of water is continuously going down, we're still expecting spots of heavy rain throughout the day. That being said, the Dongbu Expressway Olympic Bridge reopened last night, but they could be closed again during the day. The government safety authority lifted the danger level to serious, which is the highest. They explained this is because the periods of heavy rain are coming unexpectedly and the continuous downfall has weakened much of the ground, which could put citizens in serious danger. So be sure to be careful and keep yourself updated. Back to you, Semin.
Thank you. That was our Kim Do-yeon live from Paldang Dam in Gyeonggi-do province. And stay safe. Torrential rainfall that has been battering the country for the last 3 days has caused deadly mudslides and flooding and forced many to evacuate their homes. Our Ji-young with the details.
Torrential rain has inundated various regions in the capital and the central regions of South Korea over the last 3 days, causing casualties and large-scale damage. According to the Central Disaster and Safety Countermeasure Headquarters, as of 6 a.m. on Tuesday, at least 6 people had died on Monday alone. This brings the total death toll to 12, while 14 others are unaccounted for. The casualties were mostly due to flooding and landslides. At a manufacturing plant in Pyeongtaek, Gyeonggi-do province, 3 people died due to a landslide. 3 others were killed in a landslide at a tourist lodging in Gyeonggi-do province. 6 more people are missing, including a man in his 50s in Asan, Chungcheongnam-do province, and another man in his 60s in Jincheon, Chungcheongbuk-do province. Roughly 2,200 people had to temporarily evacuate their homes due to flooding, although some of these people have now returned home. More than 1,400 of them are in Gyeonggi-do province, and another 465 were in Chungcheongbuk-do province. More than 2,900 public and private facilities have been damaged during the last 3 days. Also, more than 5,700 hectares of farmlands were inundated. The Korea Forest Service has heightened the landslide warning level to its 3rd highest level out of 4 in 6 provinces, including Seoul, Gyeonggi-do, Gangwon-do, and Chungcheongbuk-do provinces. The government is focusing on searching for the missing, and other recovery efforts are also ongoing. Ji-young, Arirang News.
North Korea may have reportedly developed miniaturized nuclear devices that can straddle the warheads of its ballistic missiles. Citing a confidential report drawn up by an independent panel of experts monitoring UN sanctions, Reuters reports that several unidentified countries believe that North Korea developed the devices through its past 6 nuclear tests. The report said one of the countries assessed the North may seek further miniaturization development in order to develop multiple warhead systems. Reuters also reports that the report was submitted to the UN Security Council North Korea Sanctions Committee on Monday. A South Korean court is due to start a procedure to auction off some shares that Nippon Steel Corporation has in a joint venture company established with South Korean steelmaker POSCO to compensate Nippon's wartime forced labor victims. The Nippon Steel says it'll immediately appeal the court's verdict. Our Lee Seung-jae with more.
In early June, the Pohang branch of the Daegu District Court served Nippon Steel Corporation with a public notice to auction off shares to compensate the Korean victims of wartime forced labor. While Japan's foreign ministry failed to deliver the document to the company, the 2-month public notification is considered completed, as though the papers were received by the defendant, allowing the court to proceed with the asset sales. Beginning Tuesday, the procedure starts, and over 80,000 shares of Nippon Steel in PNR, its Korea-based joint venture with steelmaker POSCO, worth over $335,000, will be sold off. Nippon Steel has 1 week to file an appeal. If they fail to do so, the auction will be confirmed. However, law experts say it'll be tricky to compensate the victims through the seized assets. For one, a separate trial must be held after the stock is fully appraised and sold. Also, it'll take some time before the actual stock can be cashed out. Therefore, pundits say despite the procedure beginning as of Tuesday, the compensation process will not be finalized quickly. In addition, the South Korean Foreign Ministry on Monday said it's also bracing for the possibility of Japan taking retaliatory steps following the court order. Some experts point to a possible financial restriction in relation to some $42 billion that Japanese banks have invested in South Korean companies, or even raising tariffs and visa restrictions. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
The World Health Organization says the groundwork for an investigation into the origin of the COVID-19 pandemic in the city of Wuhan has been completed, and an international team of experts will be deployed to the Chinese city. The WHO also warns that there may never be a silver bullet for the COVID-19 outbreak and urged the public to follow the basic virus prevention rules. Our Kim Jae-hee reports.
The World Health Organization says that an international team will be deployed to Wuhan, China, to look into how the COVID-19 pandemic began. The WHO Director General said on Monday that an advanced investigation team studying the origins of the virus outbreak has completed its mission in China, laying the groundwork for international experts to identify the source of the virus infection there.
The WHO advanced team that traveled to China has now concluded their mission to lay the groundwork for further joint efforts to identify the virus origins. As a result of these efforts, WHO and Chinese experts have drafted the terms of reference for the studies and program of work for an international team led by WHO.
The international team will be made up of scientists and researchers from all across the world, including China. During the briefing on Monday, the Director General also warned that there may never be a silver bullet for the virus.
There is no silver bullet at the moment, and there might never be. For now, stopping outbreaks comes down to the basics of public health and disease control: testing, isolating, and treating patients, and tracing and quarantining their contacts.
Meanwhile, a study by the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention revealed in the 11 weeks before the WHO declared the global pandemic, 27% of the first confirmed cases outside of China were linked to travel to Italy, 22% to travel to China, and 11% to travel to Iran. A CDC researcher said the findings suggest that travel to just a couple of nations may have seeded additional outbreaks worldwide. Kim Jae-hee, Arirang News.
While the Trump administration had been threatening to ban the Chinese-owned video sharing application TikTok from the United States, President Trump is shifting his stance, saying he's giving the green light for Microsoft to pursue the acquisition of the company. He instead says that Microsoft should instead pay key money to the Treasury for facilitating the deal with TikTok. Our Kim Hyo-sun with more.
President Trump is suggesting that he does not mind if Microsoft buys the Chinese-owned application TikTok, retreating from comments about banning the service entirely across the U.S. Speaking at the White House on Monday, Trump said the deal must be made before mid-September.
I think buying 30% is complicated, and I suggested that he can go ahead, he can try. We set a date, I set a date of around September 15th. At which point it's going to be out of business in the United States. But if somebody, and whether it's Microsoft or somebody else, buys it, that'll be interesting.
The remark comes after he has reportedly discussed the matter with the CEO of Microsoft over the weekend. President Trump also explained that once the deal is made, the U.S. Treasury Department should receive payment for clearing the purchase. This follows President Trump's earlier threats to shut down TikTok in the U.S. due to concerns over national security. Trump administration officials and lawmakers of both parties have argued that the app could be potentially giving the Chinese government access to vast quantities of American user data. Against such a backdrop, Chinese tech company ByteDance, the parent company of TikTok, said Monday that it's considering moving the headquarters of its video sharing platform overseas, following a British media report that the unit could relocate to London. The founder of the tech company reportedly wrote to his employees on the same day that the company is currently exerting full efforts to bring about the best results, adding that ByteDance is currently facing great external pressure in certain markets. Kim Hyo-sun, Arirang News.
The South Korean government and the ruling Democratic Party of Korea held a meeting this morning to roll out additional plans to increase housing supply in order to stabilize the overheating real estate market. The plan includes supplying more than 100,000 public leases in Seoul and the surrounding areas, as well as measures to enable apartment blocks to contain more housing units by raising the residential floor area ratio. Now, the authorities also plan to supply more homes using idle sites in the capital area. Listen to this.
What we will unveil today will include supplying more houses than the markets and the media have expected. We have prepared various measures to curb the overheating real estate market and help low-income people who don't own their home.
Later this afternoon, the ruling party plans to put to a vote revisions on real estate policy, including raising tax rates on those who own multiple homes, particularly in housing speculative areas.
Good morning. The rain is taking a break in Seoul, but parts of Gyeonggi-do and Gangwon-do provinces are seeing on and off heavy downpours, and the rain could start pouring down at any moment, so let's all be ready. The capital region and parts of the Gangwon-do and Chungcheongbuk-do provinces could see up to 500 millimeters as Typhoon Hagupit made a landfall at 4 a.m. this morning in China, and the indirect effect will bring a massive amount of moisture to the central region for the next couple of days. So a heavy rain warning remains in place across central South Korea. Meanwhile, most southern provinces are dealing with steamy heat, with a heat wave warning in place for Daegu and parts of Gyeongsangbuk-do province. So Daegu will get up to 34 degrees Celsius this afternoon, Gyeongju topping out at 33 degrees. But also note that southern parts of the country and Jeju could see passing showers during the day. And there will be times when it rains nationwide, but for another 10 days straight, it is the central region seeing more monsoon rain. That's Korea for you, and here's the international weather for viewers around the world.
And that is all the news we're following at this hour, but we'll be back with more of the day's headlines coming up at noon Korea time, so stick around. Thanks for watching and goodbye.